Well, I finally got Bill Ackman's attention on X. Did you see? He responded to one of my messages, one of my posts underneath his, and he said, he said, "I listened to your podcast. I get it." Basically saying, "Stop spamming my post with your videos." But I have been paying a lot of attention to what he's been up to because he has been a for better or worse, and I'm ambivalent about it, but he's been very adept at generating a lot of public interest in academia and DEI and the need for reform in academia, even if I disagreed with some of his points of focus, or I felt like some of them really did not deserve the attention he was giving them, such as the plagiarism thing, for example. So what's happened now is that he is basically going to war, has announced this on X. Bill Ackman is going to war with all of these big shots who run the company that puts out Business Insider. And he's demanding, of course, retractions of their stories and public apologies and a settlement, a monetary settlement. And he's demanding that these CEOs or these bigwigs who run these companies, that they come to see him immediately in New York, wherever he lives, to work things out. Discuss. I mean, so like he's got his list of demands. He wrote another really, really long tweet, long post on Twitter X. And again, this is another one that it takes like a minute just to even like scroll through it, multiple parts and everything, right? But I guess it gets attention. I guess a lot of people like me are reading it, so I don't know. But yes, it really does seem like, given the larger body of his wife's work, and she seems to be a very sophisticated, forward-looking intellectual who's come up with a lot of interesting shit and has patents out there and all kinds of things. It really does seem like she is the real deal and that she should not be depicted by anyone as some empty suit, sham academic plagiarist, right? The problem is that there was a standard that was used for Claudine Gay that I feel like, apart from my feelings on Claudine Gay in other ways, and apart from my very negative feelings on DEI, I felt like the plagiarism thing, it was not a strong case to be making against Claudine Gay either. So again, it's the feeling of hypocrisy here that's going to get you with a number of people, Bill. And the other thing is that there is not a great wellspring of love among normal people for billionaires. I mean, yeah, there are a lot of people who are like fans of the finance world, and you've got a lot of them as your Twitter followers, and people who every move you make, you're like, yeah, Bill, you get him. But there's a certain sideshow aspect to that and to this vendetta now that has erupted between you and some of these executives of Business Insider. And I understand that you would say, well, they depicted my wife in a way that was overly negative or that was really false. These were really just basically the equivalents of like clerical errors. And she did cite these guys. She didn't steal from them, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, I get it. I get it. But let's just move on, all of us, from the whole plagiarism thing, because your wife has a stellar reputation. She has exhibits in the Metropolitan Museum of Art or the Modern Museum of Art or whatever. I don't know the art world, right? I mean, she is a superstar, and I'm sure that she is going to continue to flourish after this. If anything, I think this whole dust up, honestly, in a very like shrewdly objective way, I think this whole recent dust up over your wife, I think that probably it's just going to serve as a net gain in the long run. And now more people know about her. Many more people know about Neri Oxman, this famous artist and this, ahead of her time intellect than they would have before. And many people will be Googling her work and will see all the other stuff that she's done. And people don't trust the media. And honestly, deep down, people know that plagiarism of the kind that we're talking about, these like citation errors and inadequate citation and like a small part of someone's work, people know that it's not a big deal. It's the hypocrisy that's really getting you here, because you did, Bill, even though I know the plagiarism story didn't originate with you, you did really push it. And I understand why you did it, but it's backfired. Take the temporary L. It's going to end up being a win in the long run, PR wise. It's going to be okay. She's going to be okay. Let's move on to what matters, because you do risk, Bill, in my mind, looking like more of a jackass if you continue to wage this war on X. And honestly, there is a kind of a Streisand effect, as people have talked about here, where, the more attention you put on this that's unnecessary, then the more attention you draw to it, right? There are a number of cases where I think that people are falsely accused of things, and they should lean into it, and they should do interviews, and they should clearly state their case. There are other situations like with this where I really think, Bill, this is just like a sort of just a little bump in the road for Neri Oxman and for you, seriously, if you don't let it become a bigger thing. And let's get back to looking at the problems with DEI ideology and the problems with academia and the need for academic reform and whatever else you want to sink your teeth into. But you should move on. All right. Bye-bye.